Well, first of all, this is a very interesting evening because we are talking about a book and one of the protagonists is present. The writer, the author is present. The other protagonist, Che Guevara, thank God, is not present. Thank God that Felix was not able to save his life, although he tried. It's a fascinating book in the sense that it reads like a novel, but it is obviously, as you have gathered, full of historical facts. And one of the great facts about the book is the role that the CIA played in hunting down this guerrilla operation. In 1992, I landed in La Paz, Bolivia, and to my surprise, as going into the hotel, there was a tall building about 8 floors, and there was a big picture of Che Guevara. And I said, wait a minute, this is before Evo Morales, this is way before the communists had taken over Bolivia. And the first thought that came to my mind was Simón Bolívar, arado en el mar. I said, Félix Ismael Rodríguez must feel like Simon Bolivar, who said, I have plowed in the sea, meaning that all his efforts to create democratic republics in South America had failed. My father had given me a book by Felix, in the Shadow Warrior, in which it relates the story of the hunting down of Che Guevara, published by Simon Schuster. And so it was fresh in my mind, and I felt how sorry that these people in this country where Che Guevara died apparently have admiration for Che Guevara. As I was reading the book, I read the book in Spanish, later I read it in English. First of all, let me congratulate the translator is here. That's another first. You have a literary gathering. We have the translator, the protagonist, the author. What is your name, sir?
Gilbert Grasselli.
Gilbert Grasselli. One of the interesting parts about the book is the scenarios. Nicaragua, the invasion, Bay of Pigs. Felix was training in Nicaragua. First time I go to Nicaragua, the democracy supposedly is there, and at the airport, black and red, very familiar to Cubans as the sign of the communists, Policía Sandinista. So later on, they became Policía Nacional, and later on, the communists are back in power. Again, Aramos en el Mar, Simón Bolívar. Venezuela, the land of Simón Bolívar, communist today. Very sad situation. Ecuador, even Argentina. It must be very frustrating for Cuban exiles. Hurts. Well, that is our story, the story of hurt. Well, here we are with a Spaniard who has, in the last few years, dedicated his life to publishing books in which history is brought to the present, some aspect of history that, in his opinion, is germane for us to understand what is going on in the world today. For example, he wrote a book about Iran, and Iran will definitely be this year one of the main issues, in international politics. Well, this man from Spain has written books, and he has worried that these books, in addition to being in Spanish, should be like in French and in English, because he realizes that the most important language today is English, and needs this kind of information needs to be told. Well, in these dark hours for democracy in our hemisphere, this kind of book is more important than ever, because now with e-books, it is easier for readers around the world to get a glimpse at another side of the story different from this one. This is not the story of the statue in Argentina that commemorates the hero Che Guevara. This is a story of the real Che Guevara, who, in addition to being a criminal, was very adventurous. And the combination of the two led him to be a criminal that had the power to kill a lot of people and to do it legally. And this is what he did in Cuba when I was a child. I add my thanks to Felix and all the members of the brigade. The book also talks about Escambray, the clandestine operations. If you travel on Coral Way, the library, around 90 some Avenue, you see Francisco Park. Francisco was the leader of the clandestine movement, and Rafael infiltrated Cuba more than once and was the liaison with the people that were going to support the invasion. And of course, Castro rounded up all possible opposition and executed the leaders, including Francisco. So this is a fascinating story for anybody that lives in South Florida, because if you grew up here in the 70s, this was Casablanca. Miami was an intrigued city. You knew people that were conducting raids in Cuba. You knew people that were infiltrating Cuba. You heard about them if you didn't know them. I didn't know them personally, but it was like a fascinating time. And the book captures that spirit and shows the resistance. We have the reputation that us exiles, we just like to eat well and be capitalists, but that we did not fight for our freedom, that we fled like cowards. And this kind of books reflects it. That couldn't be further from the truth. So, very emotional. The terrible things that are related in the book. And Rafael Cerrato, not being Cuban, has been able to objectively hear the words that Félix had related to him, and has been able, now in English, through the translator, to bring him to you. Now, the most fascinating part of the book is the reunion of Benigno, the nom de guerre of the lieutenant of Che Guevara, a poor peasant boy who grew up thinking that he was fighting for the liberty of Cuba. Wow, was he mistaken? This man even became the head of the police, the revolutionary police. Very high-level communist. And yet this person is now living in exile, just like Félix Ismael Rodríguez. So, another bad reputation that we have is that we are reactionaries and that we hate our fellow citizens in Cuba, and we just want to go back and take our land back and take our properties back, etc. The embrace between these two former enemies shatters that myth. Somos un solo pueblo. We are one people. So, I'm sorry for getting a little emotional, but this is the story of all of us. All of us that grew up in Miami and that are very thankful for all the sacrifice that people like him conducted, and my appreciation to you, sir, for the book.